Right. That was a light show.
Yeah, it was good. We're talking about the Olympics and everything, and
Oh, yeah.
boy, there's so much to think about here. I kind of feel I, I I'm completely turned off. I got to just say that. I just everything I'm seeing right now. First off, I'm so sick of. We talked about it in the last segment. I'm so sick of just woke politics in all of my sports.
I think everyone's getting sick of it, though, Merle. I think there's
how is it that the Olympic Committee can't see that and they're allowing these kinds of protests to happen? And they've got, the trans thing happening there as well, and they're just on the cutting edge of wokeism is what it seems like. And then you got guys like LeBron James coming out, who's a 3-time gold medal winner, to talk about how you're stealing away their First Amendment rights by not letting them protest. And I think about LeBron James and his 3 gold medals, and it makes me feel like, come on, LeBron, you're gonna weigh in on the Olympics and what's right and what's wrong in the Olympics. But there's a hypocrisy here that's overwhelming to me, because I remember as a kid, I used to love the Olympics, and we've talked about this before. I wanted to be in the Olympics. I actually joined track and ran the half mile and the mile because I wanted to get a gold medal for America. That was a big deal. I didn't do it, but I tried. And there was this patriotic pride that I had about the whole thing, and it's all about the amateur and somebody that doesn't have a chance as who's a professional. This person can really make a name for themselves, right? Yeah. And then I remember hearing that the Russians were putting professional hockey players on their Olympic hockey team. And I thought, how wrong is this? How disgusting is that they would do this? And in 1980, when the Americans beat those Russians on the ice, knowing those were professionals that they beat, that was one of the most glorious moments in the Cold War ever. And so this is what the Olympics were. At least that's what it was for us. And now it's turned into something completely different. And they've stolen the spirit. Back to LeBron James. LeBron James won all 3 of those gold medals as a professional basketball player. Right. He was one of the best professional basketball players on the NBA, and then competed in the Olympics. I just think
it's more than that alone. Let's look at it this way. Let's speak to what LeBron said about trying to throw our First Amendment rights out there. Okay, so then what if a team wants to propagandize anti-woke? Everything anti-woke and Trump. What if they put Trump across there? And I hate saying his name. I hate bringing him into it. I wish he'd go away. But to make a point, what if they decide to put Trump on their jerseys? I'll believe me, that's not going to fly. That will be against the rules, right? So that is not First Amendment rights. LeBron always has half the information. I don't think he's a hypocrite. I think he's really uneducated.
Well, maybe you're right, but that kind of makes you a hypocrite when you criticize somebody for remember, the guy from the Houston Rockets that said that we needed to support the protesters in Hong Kong, and it was LeBron that came out and said, how ignorant of you to say something that stupid, and you don't even know what you're talking about. And they freaking crucified that guy and just shut him down. Well, that guy was just expressing his First Amendment right of expression, and he came and shut that down like an iron curtain, along with the rest of the NBA. But when his people want to speak, then it's a violation of the First Amendment. Here's another thing too, is that private companies aren't really under First Amendment, constitutional First Amendment. That's the federal government that's under First Amendment. You can't just come into your place of employment and just say whatever you want to say, or you're going to get fired. That's very true. That's how it works. And so when you're applying First Amendment to these sports figures, that doesn't actually apply. And then finally, I just want to say something that I think I heard Greg Gutfeld actually talking about, and it was what sports used to be. And maybe it was him, maybe it was somebody else, but sports has always been something that causes people to come together from all races, from all creeds. And the only thing that matters on the playing field is what color uniform you're wearing, not what color anybody is. And we've seen that sports, like for instance, baseball, when they brought Jackie Robinson into the major league, that the sport was used to show people that it didn't matter what color people were. It mattered about the content of their character. And it actually was like a soothing balm that was applied to a festering wound of bigotry. And we've seen it work for decades now. And then suddenly, and the athlete, him or herself, was always a very humble, hardworking figure that wasn't looking for any kind of a handout. And they were people that we could look to and emulate and feel good about emulating. I recently saw George Foreman send out a tweet, and I'm a big fan of George Foreman and what he was able to accomplish in his lifetime. He's a gold medal winner as well. He won in 1960. And he was an amateur, and he just won that gold medal. He says that he wanted to win that gold medal for America, that was really important. And he put a picture of himself on there, and he's got the American flag draped over him. He's got blood on his shoulder. He's got this gold medal and this extremely proud look on his face. And he talks about how great America is. And here he is like 60 years later, 55 years later, and he's still talking about how important that was to stand there and represent America. And now you've got these kids out there that, I mean, what happened? How did this?
We know they got indoctrinated.
They really did. And and we're letting this happen. I'm telling you that
if there's a pushback, I'm telling you, it's happening. This
Yes.
anti-woke thing is really taking hold, and the NFL is going to play a big part in making that pendulum swing the other way. Is I don't know what there's a poll out there somewhere that's going to state that over 80% of people in America do not want politics in their sports or their entertainment.
Barry, I was thinking about
Take it out.
Thinking about this the other day. I haven't watched the NFL in years because of this. Football is my favorite sport. I haven't watched any football. Pro football. I love pro football. I got a long tradition of watching pro football with my family. I haven't, and they've ruined it. They've taken it away from me. And I was just thinking, now it's happened to every sport, with the exception of maybe a couple. And you're right. This has to be taken back. How do we take it back? My only method of taking it back is by boycotting it, just not watching. And I hate to think that because I don't want to see all that in the Olympics. Right. And so I just feel like I don't even want to watch it. My favorite things in the Summer Olympics are the track and field and gymnastics. And I feel like I hope that's not in track and field and gymnastics, but the whole thing, I just want to be able to send a message that I get this out of my sports. And I feel like boycotting is the only way to do it.
No, I agree. And I'm going to have to tap out here because after waiting decades for the Browns to get really good, I can't boycott watching the Browns this year. They really are going to make a run for the Super Bowl. So I'm so excited about that. But outside of all that, it doesn't matter. It's still going to give everybody the common person such a bad taste in their mouth over this wokeism stuff. It's going to start making that pendulum swing hard the other way. I really believe. Oh, you know what? I want to say something before I forget. I wish I would have remembered to say it on the regular show. I think I really, as I recall, screwed up last week. We were talking about what's going on in Haiti and in Cuba. And I think I got the two confused because we were talking, because in Haiti, that the president or whatever his title is got, what's the word? Couped. And then in Cuba, obviously they have all the freedom marches and stuff. And I don't remember what you asked me a question. I said something, but I remember that I was watching some news later on that day, and I'm like, geez, man, I think I got those completely backwards.
Well, we were talking about both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
and so we kind of, I remember exactly what you said. And you were talking about Haiti, but then there was an event in Cuba that happened, and it kind of, that event got applied to Haiti. It didn't actually matter though, because it was under the banner of the same oppressive
Communism,
nations and communism, and how we need to how we're perplexed at how our government doesn't seem to be saying boo about what's going on. In fact, they're doubling down on the same tactics. So yeah, exactly. So I wanted to finish on the football thing, because this is so important to me too. And I hate the whole woke thing that's happening there. I hear that they're going to be able to wear names of people and on their
helmets,
arms, on their helmets, and all the Black Lives Matter kind of stuff on their uniform.
But again, it's going to have to be approved names.
Yeah, you can't just put like
Jim Crow.
Can you imagine?
Could you imagine? Yeah, let's see how free our speech is.
Right, exactly. But they're gonna play the Black national anthem,
whatever that is,
and
so divisive.
It's
so divisive.
First off,
everybody believes what you're gonna say. Everyone believes what you're gonna say.
Here's what I would love. I wish that I could be an NFL player when they play the Black national anthem and the national anthem, because they're gonna play both. And here's what we're gonna see: is people are gonna stand for the Black national anthem, and then the athletes are gonna.
Nobody's gonna know what they're supposed to do. They're
gonna kneel when the American national anthem comes on, and so this is what I would do as a black player, is that I would kneel for the Black national anthem, and I would stand for the national anthem, because you can't have two national anthems, one for Black people and one for everybody else. I mean, isn't that the definition of
divisiveness,
of bigotry? Like,
yes, it is.
Like, okay, that's racism. Like, you were going to have a national anthem that's just for Black people. None of you other people
no Asians, no Jewish, no Irish, no Italian.
Here, our national anthem is for everybody. It's for America. But
the melting pot.
We're going to play first the Black national anthem, and then we're going to play the anthem for everybody else. What?
Yeah, I know. Isn't this like? I think it was Morgan Freeman's like, Black History Month. I don't want a Black History Month. Is there a White History Month? Is there an Irish History Month? What? And they're doing it again. And it's always these white people that are trying to make themselves look more virtuous than everybody else.
Funny, because he was talking to Chris Wallace. Mike Wallace, Chris Wallace's dad. And he says, well, do you want a White History Month? He said, that's what he said to him.
I remember.
And Mike Wallace says, well, I'm Jewish. He backpedaled from that so quickly. I'm Jewish. Just like that got him out of it. And Morgan Freeman just calmly said, okay, so would you like a Jewish History Month? And just like, no.
I know.
I think that made me love Morgan
dumb.
Freeman so much for just having a level head. He wasn't being confrontational or anything like that. He was helping Mike Wallace to actually see what he was saying, because he was blind to. Most of the population is blind to why that's such a bad thing.
But
and
that's
Morgan
amazing.
Freeman helped him to see that.
I know, that's amazing to me, because it's so clear and common sense.
Is.
But Morgan Freeman, that's part of his shtick. Like, he truly, I guess that's why he's always been such a popular actor, is he brings that same smooth cool to his roles. I don't think smooth cool, that sounds too Black. What I mean is his calm, common sense demeanor comes through in his roles,
and so honest and
integrity,
genuine,
genuine,
and he's very clear. He's got just very clear thinking, and here's what I always say too.
Common sense.
Goes back to the Fauci Rand Paul discussion, is that if you have the truth, you really don't have to be excited about it. Like,
there you go.
if
Don't have
somebody,
to be defensive.
yeah, if somebody came up to me and said, the sky is red, I can see that it's blue. No, it's not. It's red. Why would I get all like, it's blue? Like, I don't have to do that. It's obviously blue, right? So that's another thing is like that people like Morgan Freeman bring to the table when they're trying to make their points. They're very calm and collected, and they have data to back things up. And then you hear the other side of the story, and it's all just emotion and everything. And as a bystander, you can see, where the truth, you can feel it. I think as human beings, we have a truth antenna. Now we can deny that truth, and I've done it. So, like, I don't want to believe that truth, and then I try to deny it and make up my own truth, right?
Sure.
And then you get stung by it, and I should have listened. But it is something. Hey, I'm doing this interview next week with a guy who we're going to do our first show for Cyber Talk TV. And it's going to be with this person. I brought this up before, Steven Scherer. We had to delay this thing a couple of weeks as a couple of things got in our way, but it's going to happen. I'm reading his book. It's communist China, it's detention in communist prison or something like that. I'm almost done with it. This experience this guy had is amazing. But what he comes away with is this enlightened understanding of the privilege that we all have here as Americans. And when we look at the rights that we have, the Bill of Rights, no country, especially China, has these things. These are human rights, and they were said so succinctly. And he compares that to other nations. He even compares it to the definition that the UN has and Amnesty International, and points to the Bill of Rights and says the Bill of Rights, the writers of the Bill of Rights were maybe 1,000 years ahead of their time. And that model has been held up as the envy to the rest of the world.
Agreed.
And that these other entities like UN and the Amnesty International and all these other places were mimicking that whole thing in order to really provide a higher level of human rights to everybody in the world. So I go back to this whole attack on America as systemically racist, and I look at what the truth is of all of this, and you talk to a guy like Steven Scherer, who was in a communist Chinese prison, and he could see not only how foreigners were treated, but how the Chinese citizens themselves are treated without any rights, without the right to an attorney, without the right to remain silent, without the right to not incriminate yourself. They don't have any of those rights. And we just have such privilege living here.
You don't know that. You don't know what you have until it's taken away. Unfortunately, there's so many immature people in this country that seem to need to learn that lesson. That's
right.
Boy, we could be headed for a civil war.
It seems like it.
If we can't survive this generation of wokeism and Marxism, if we can get by it to a new but how is the younger generation going?
See, this is the thing, Barry, is that they're just not being educated about what the dangers are out there. And so Stephen tells a story about how he was so excited to go out to Beijing. He saw this as a total jewel, brand new cities, young man, very excited. And somebody tells him, he goes to the bank to get his affairs in order and everything. And there's a person probably our age at the bank that he's working with, and she says, so what are you doing? What's the plan? And he says he's going to China. He's going to open up a business there. He's going to live there. And she has this shocked look on her face, and she says, that's a communist country, right? And he writes, these older people, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're so conservative, and
Yep.
he plays the game with her to appease her, and then just goes up. What a silly person, he says. So now he's in jail and he's starving and he's sleep deprived, and this woman keeps coming up in his mind. It's like, if I hadn't been so brilliant and thought of myself as this tremendous world traveler, I could have saved myself from this death hole that I'm in, because he didn't know when or if he would ever get out of there. And that alone is psychological torture.
It is.
And so you're right. Getting back to, you don't know what you have here until you go someplace else. But the other thing is, we as a country have done a terrible job. We've indoctrinated these kids into the fallacy of socialism and communism, that to your point, how are they ever going to see the truth of that unless they go through something like Steven Scherer went through?
Yeah, there's a really confusing, maybe interesting dilemma that we have here. As you say, the younger people that may be indoctrinated as such, talking to older people, and you know how we always look at older people as, oh, they don't know what's, but
that's how I did.
I always see this. There's such a war between the baby boomer generation and the millennials, and Generation X. Our generation is like totally forgotten about. We got
no one even says Generation X.
No, we got to pass on everything. And probably as a generation, the worst parents ever.
Agreed.
The helicopter.
Yeah, we're the terrible parents, right?
Absolutely. So we shouldn't get a pass. But the baby boomers are the last bastion of cable news watchers, and that's where they were the ones that really started the Marxist movement back in the universities back in the day, protesting against America and stuff. And the hippie generation, man, let's share everything, man. And
that's right.
A lot of them, like here in the Heights, boy, you see them all running around here with their gray hair, still with their, they still got Biden signs in their front lawns and stuff.
They do.
Absolutely. And you will not find, no one's allowed to have a Trump sign around. No, you got to get pretty far outside the Heights before you see something like that. And you see, you can look on the Nextdoor app, which I seem to have been pretty much banned from, but there's so much of that anti-American sentiment. And
I know.
So anyways, the interesting or confusing thing that I can't really get is the younger generation that, like that guy, what's his name, that goes to the bank and says, I'm going to open up a business. And the older person says, oh my God, you are. Well, most of them are on his side. It's a great deal of them. I don't understand the war when they seem to be simpatico, that we have been responsible. The boomer generation, our generation's been responsible for laying the foundation of indoctrination in these colleges in the first place. There's a lot in common there. That's what I'm saying. To me, it's confusing.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of confusing things, that are happening here. It's hard to, and you look at the everything that's happening today is so outrageous. It's like, why are these things happening? It's it can be a bit confusing, as just as you take a look at some of these stories that we're looking at today. I've got some things that I want to make sure I bring up. I wrote COVID in the house, and I'm like, why did I write that?
I do that. I always say, if there's something from 5-6 days ago, I'll be like, what? I put that. I know I had a reason,
I wanted to switch over to Facebook killing people. Did you hear Joe Biden talking about that this week?
The hypocrisy on that, and then walking it back.
Yeah, did he walk it back? I didn't hear that. What did he?
It was about 2 days ago. I don't remember how he said it, but he pretty much said, well, I didn't mean they were really killing people, but he said something like, there's 12 people that are responsible for putting disinformation out on Facebook.
Oh, I heard that. That's right. I did hear that. 12 people. Okay. That's an odd statement right there.
That's very odd.
What is it? I wonder what he's talking about.
I don't know.
But just to say that, he said it several times, they're killing people. He's talking about Facebook killing people with misinformation. And but freedom of speech, I don't understand how he's saying all these crazy things right now. But I guess the bottom line for me is that it seems like Facebook has really helped out the Democratic Party in many, many ways, especially through censorship. So I wonder why, as the president, you would think a good strategy would be to attack that entity.
I'd say that they were pretty instrumental in getting him in office.
Yeah, same here. It just doesn't seem like good strategy.
That's
good
why he
sound
walked it
strategy.
back. His handlers told him to.
Yeah, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, Joe, go get him off. Cut the mic.
That's what they got to do. They got to just like the debates. Remember when they had control of the microphone?
Yeah. It's all of a sudden you just see his lips moving and nothing.
What is he saying? Anyway, so. Yeah, man. So those were. Let's see. I got one more story here. Oh, okay. the North Carolina door-to-door vaccine outrage violating zone of privacy advocacy group. It's a really interesting article that I read in the Epic Times on this, and it's about this whole thing that the Biden administration is doing, where they're sending people door to door to advocate for vaccination. Yeah. And this article is actually talking about North Carolina bringing up the U.S. Supreme Court case called the U.S. Supreme Court, Griswold versus Connecticut in 1965. It's really interesting, Barry. I love to look at these Supreme Court cases. Mm-hmm. This one was over contraception and the legality of being able to sell contraception in Connecticut. That became a thing in the 60s. Mm-hmm. They were trying to control what was happening in the bedroom. And the Supreme Court basically said that when you're in the privacy, your privacy is your privacy, and nobody has a right to know what's going on in your bedroom. Okay, so that seems that applies to a lot of different things. So mm-hmm. not just what happens in your bedroom, but it becomes a huge privacy cornerstone for our United States law system. It's a precedent that's out there. And so what they're applying this to is vaccination status, and that if it's nobody's business what happens in your bedroom, then it's nobody's business what gets put into your body, mm-hmm. Or not put into your body, because you can see they kind of relate to each other. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, these legal cases take time and we have to watch them, but something else to keep your eye on out there to see what happens with this. Because in my lifetime, I've never had a president send anybody to my door to inform me of anything. That's never been a thing. This is new territory, very unprecedented. And if we really start to think about what this is really about, it could be about the vaccination, but it also could be, politicians are always trying to figure out a way to campaign. Yeah, and
off taxpayer dollars,
and also using the vaccination. This term voter intimidation could be bandied about as well. So interesting stuff going on here.
Well, there are in so many ways. I know I say it constantly, but I'm so angry about every day hearing about billions of our taxpayer dollars going to another worthless or buying votes. Look at Gavin Newsom there. I mean, look at Biden. I mean, he's trying to do the same thing on a nationwide scale. It's all about buying votes, getting you addicted to government. And,
it is. It is a
all
big
on
government.
our dime.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Barry, I'm out of juice here.
Oh, well, that's fine. I have been wanting to use this graphic for a little while. So, have you been back to Schitt's Creek?
I have actually. I've watched. So last weekend we got four new episodes, and we wanted to spread them out. So we sat down and watched the first one, and then the next three came immediately after that. So we consumed these shows very quickly, and we can't wait till they come on. And it's just a lot of fun, actually. I've very much enjoyed this show.
Yeah. About where are you at? What season?
Well, the unfortunate part is that they're not going in order. So
really?
I know that's the problem. I can't. I don't have. I think it's Netflix that this is on, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have access to that. And so yeah, it's on some channel on cable that I have it set to automatically record, and so I think I'm like 2 years behind here.
Oh, okay.
2019. I think that's the last episode I saw. But you know,
such a good show.
It's just a lot of fun, and we chuckle about it all the time, and it's always fun to run into other people that watch the show. So you know, you just talk about these people are crazy.
The characters are crazy. They have such great chemistry, but the premise, I love the premise. I love when when they show you in the hotel room. They're the adjoining room, hotel room. It's like, oh my God.
It's really ridiculous.
Those are my favorite parts. I started watching this show. Maybe Netflix. I think it's actually Amazon Prime, and it's about Hugh Hefner. It might be called The Playboy. It's a Hugh Hefner documentary.
Oh,
and it's really good and really interesting because it really gives you a look. You maybe think about it because you were talking about what you put in your body, contraception and all that. Contraception changed what do I want to say? The political climate, not the political climate, but the social climate of the entire country.
It started the sexual revolution.
It did. And so Hefner talked a lot about it. A lot of the stuff was a lot of it is done with a cast, you know, and a character playing Hugh Hefner as the Playboy thing developed. Cool. Yeah. It is. And a lot of it's interspersed with interviews, real interviews from like the 90s and stuff, or late 80s. And I couldn't find it. I looked for it. I think it was last night, and I couldn't find it again because it's only one season. I think it's 10 episodes, and I might be on 6 because I saw the whole rise and what it did to society, how it interacted with society. So important. It's really important how it played off of our freedom of speech, how it challenged freedom of speech. And so I'm right there in the middle, and I want to see how the fade went. I don't even know, is Playboy still around? I imagine.
I believe it is.
Yeah, I remember hearing a few years back. Right. When did he die? Do you remember?
A few years ago. It's been a few years.
I thought it's been a lot of years, but I thought I remember hearing a few years back that they were no longer going to have new models in there in the magazine because they're like, what's the point? Internet. I could be wrong. I thought I heard that. Yeah. But so I wanted to see how they got through all of the challenges of the challenges of censorship and things like that in the 70s, because that's where I'm at is in the 70s, because he went from himself and 2 other people in like a 1-bedroom apartment publishing the first couple issues, and it was like, holy crap, we got 3,000 subscribers already. And so they built an office in Chicago. Next thing you know, they got 4 floors of this building. And then the next thing you know, they bought
they take over the whole building. Yeah.
And
still there.
And is that right? Because I figured he moved his operations.
He did, but the building is still there.
Okay. So he really was a genius as far as the marketing goes, how they came up with the Playmate. And then later, not until he started, he wanted to bring the experience of Playboy. First of all, he evolved the Playboy magazine into being a how to be a Playboy bachelor. And teaching you what the right drinks are, about fine food, about the right tailoring, how to behave with women, etiquette, all of the stuff that became the brand. And then he wanted to bring it to the common person in these. They got known for having their parties with the elites, you know?
Oh, right. They sure
became
did.
Very famous. So he wanted to bring this to everybody. He's brilliant. I mean, so he started making millions upon millions of dollars, as you know. The biggest thing that he did was creating the Playboy
mansion.
Well, I haven't gotten to the point where he actually went to LA and built the mansion. I'm still in Chicago where he built his first mansion, where he started hosting these parties. I'm the Playboy Club, I guess is what they were called.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
my dad took me to one of those.
Really?
Yeah, in New York City.
Oh, okay. That's where I was left at, is the development of that in New York. Cause he's like, it has to be done. And just how crooked New York was, and what he had to go through in order to get that, grease a lot of palms. It
was a crazy time in New York at the time too. Yeah. A lot of crime.
But so that was the advent, those clubs were the advent of the Playboy Bunny. Now they created the logo before that, but it was associated with the Playboy guy himself. But when they opened up these clubs and they wanted to have these hot girls in there that were really highly trained. Yes. And that's when they said, well, let's apply the bunny to that. And now we have Playboy bunnies rather than just Playmates. That's what they were the advent of the centerfold. They're like, it's not big enough, and they're thinking about it. What did we do? Fold out page. It's like, wow, so it's really very interesting. It is. And I want to see the decline. And that took a long time though.
It did. And did you ever watch his reality show that he had late in his life?
I didn't even know about that until I'm watching this. That was early on. That was really that he only had the magazine like 5 years before, and he was approached to do that reality show.
Oh,
unless you're talking about a later one.
His reality show that he did was in the early 2000s, actually.
Oh, well, okay, that's a different one.
He's now
he did a variety. They had a variety show in the early 70s.
Did? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, and it was really successful.
Did you ever see the one in the 2000s?
I guess
it was actually pretty good. Anne Marie and I were kind of addicted to the show, and he had these, they weren't his wives. He had 3 girlfriends that were living there in the house with him. And it seemed like really decadent. Like, why would we watch this show? But I think we watched it one time and it was actually really good. It was, and you end up really liking these 3 women that he was connected with. They're actually really sweet people. And you get to kind of know Hugh Hefner as well. And he's, it's a very interesting guy. One thing I know is at the end of his life, he was still living in that mansion, and it's pretty close to here. I'd never been over that direction before, but I hear that it had become dilapidated, as well as he had become the Playboy Mansion in Los
LA. Yeah, that was sold off some years ago. I remember reading
it was sold off, but he was still living there, and he lived there until he died, actually. I started to hear that the mansion itself had some pretty interesting characteristics. I'm told that there was a secret tunnel there so that people could actually get into the mansion without being seen going into the mansion. So a lot of people would end up showing up there by going through this secret tunnel.
Of course.
They had all these secret rooms as well in there.
I bet they did.
Swimming pools inside and outside. Quite a place, and a lot of celebrity stories that we'll probably never hear that had happened in that particular place.
They showed the overhaul that they did to that building in Chicago to make the first mansion, and where they hosted those parties and the pools and all that crazy stuff. And
amazing.
Boy, that was a different time.
It really was a different time. I said I was out of juice earlier, but I actually had one other thing, and it's kind of
I just wanted to say, I have to go real soon. I was looking for the end banner. Find it. So,
doggone
I know. But go ahead.
So sniffing dogs deployed to search out COVID. Have you heard about this?
I've heard of that. Yeah, they're supposed to be very accurate.
Yeah, they're supposed to be. There's a picture on this one, and it's a German Shepherd. And I just think interesting concept. The WHO has this, but I also thought, how weird to bring out. I don't want to be in a crowd with dogs sniffing me. That's never a good feeling. Having a German Shepherd come and sniff you to make sure you're okay. It conjures up some negative images in my head, and I hate that we're in this day, but
I do too. But I do think it would be cool if we had a super accurate COVID detector.
I wish
that would solve a lot of problems.
I think it would too. Obviously, we don't have that now. So.
And I got to tell you, I mean, I think and wonder every day what is right about what's going on now, and this so-called second wave of this Delta variant. And I know that there's a lot of funny business going on through the media with it and scare tactics. I know there is, but I also wonder when you see what's going on in Australia. And I look at the chart for Ohio, and you want to pull up a chart?
Yeah, I don't have anything. Do you have something you want to pull
up? Yeah, I can pull it up in seconds. But I just, hey, remember when I said about DuckDuckGo that I've made it my primary browser?
Yeah.
But boy, I got to tell you, I've had to bookmark Google right next to it because Google is such a more robust search engine.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like if you want movie reviews and stuff, it's interconnected with so many things. Oh, just maps and so many things. Yeah, it's just got some really serious power behind it. And so this COVID is one of them. And I'm going to pull up the share screen. Where is it? I found it. Okay. So this is Ohio. And if I could just pull off this square of this map, that you would be able to really see that what looks like an almost insignificant uptick.
Yeah.
If it were a much shorter span of time, it would look a lot more significant. I don't mean a lot more, but there's an uptick. There is. And if it keeps going up, we're going to have a problem. I don't know how much to believe. And, I don't know where the hysteria or the common sense is and the hysteria ends or whatever.
I agree.
Texas, look at Texas. They got an uptick going on.
Yeah.
I want to take a look at California, which I thought I did yesterday. I don't remember. There's a true uptick going on there, but California is the land of hysteria. So,
yeah, but you look at let's stay there for a second, because you look at that whole thing that happens between November and end of January, and that's when we locked down everything out here. You couldn't even go outside. I can't even believe we lived through that. And yeah, we have an uptick. We should be watching out for that. But to go immediately back to the masks, I don't know. It seems to be a pretty severe knee-jerk reaction, which, especially if you live in this situation, it starts to feel like this is never going to end. They're always going to find some reason for us to be in this sort of semi-lockdown masking kind of thing. And
crap.
It seems like this is what they want.
Look at Florida. Big. That's going straight up.
Pretty serious.
The problem is for me, there's a couple things. First of all, if the vaccine is that effective and available, then I'm not too worried about it. But as I say that, where the rubber hits the road is with hospitals. How full are hospitals and how taxed are hospitals getting? Because it seems like when we get into this whole COVID conversation or argument, it's always about, all the young people, there's a stats on how it's nothing but a minor cold to them. And these people are truly at risk. This very small percentage of old people, and they have vaccines and everything. Okay. But are the hospitals getting hit hard? That's really, I think, the real measurement.
And that should have always been the measurement. And
we had some hard times with that across the nation.
We did. Yeah. And then we didn't, you know what I'm saying? And then they kind of stopped monitoring that. And then it didn't become about that any longer. It was about all kinds of other things. So, the whole lockdown started because of the surge. We wanted to guard against the surge, right? We wanted to defeat the surge. Well, we did that pretty quickly. But we shut it down so badly that our hospitals actually had to stop doing elective surgeries. And the problem with that is that's really the main staple of their income. Yeah. And they depend on that in order to keep the doors open. And that's really where the hospitals have been damaged. Not so much that they've been overcrowded, but that they didn't have a chance to I mean, it's like blood flow to a hospital, is that they were being strangled financially. And even though we did bailouts for a lot of the hospitals and they kept their doors open, man, I'm telling you, I have a database that I look at as I'm calling on hospitals every day, and their operating margins are in the way negatives. And so and so that's the problem, is that if you go to a hospital now and these hospitals are financially struggling, I mean, you don't want to be in a hospital that can't afford to take care of you. To me, that's a problem. That's a problem for America.
I hear you. I don't know. I don't know.
Neither do
As we wrap up, how about if I wake this little guy up, because I'm going to take him outside.
Yeah, let's see him.
Want to look at him?
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie, come here, buddy. Oh man, he jumped. He was really sleeping.
Oh, he's gonna be all tired.
He's such a happy dog. He really is.
How old is he?
About 10, 11 weeks now.
He's big for 11 weeks. Oh, he's so cute. How big? Oh, look at that face. How big do they think he's gonna get?
We don't know. Nobody knows. We don't know what he's mixed with. So he looks like a retriever mixed with something. And
beautiful.
Thank you. He really is. And if I can find a time, I want to put up a channel, Charlie the Rescue Dog. And I have his first couple of days really, really documented. And it's a lot of really cute stuff. Do you watch the Dodo with those animal videos?
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Along those lines, there's like a channel. It's not the Dodo, but there's somebody, I forget his name, the Beagle. I watched I watched this little beagle get his first bath. I watched him go through a car wash in a car, his first car wash, all these mundane things. And yet me and tens of thousands of other people are watching it. These
fun
5-minute videos of that. And I'd like to document his first day, maybe his first second day or his first week. And a few different 5 to 10 minute videos.
I liked the video that you sent me of him whining at the top of the stairs.
I sent you that one. That was
didn't
cute.
want to go down the stairs. That is cute.
He doesn't. He can't get up and down stairs yet.
Just look at him. He's such a
so
cool
good.
Dog. Yeah, so look at him. Right on cue.
Your first appearance.
Look at him.
Your first online appearance. You might be a star, buddy.
Might be. Look at him.
All right. With that,
hey, thanks a lot, Barry. This has been great,
sure
and another great start to a Friday.
Yeah.
I hope you have a great weekend.
You too, buddy. Love you. Bye.
Love you too, man. Bye now.